Hey team, I'm Maddie. Welcome to Science Side Up. And today we're going to take another look at chemtrails. So after my chemtrail video that I did a couple weeks ago, I had several people link me the same article that's referencing a Harvard study. The title of this sort of popular science article, or science article made for the general public, is titled Harvard Scientists Admit Using Chemtrails to Block the Sun. And that was, again, sent to me by several people. And so what I thought would hopefully make for some interesting content would be if you and I sit down. I've got my laptop up and I'm screen recording, so I'll just, editing Maddie will put what I can see on my screen up in a window where you guys can watch along, and we can just look at this article, see where it comes from, dig into the validity of the claim, and hopefully learn something, right? So yeah, that's the plan for today. So, okay, to the article. Harvard scientists admit using chemtrails to block the sun. And then there's a picture of a plane with some pretty thick white cloud-like structures behind it. And I think someone photoshopped skulls into that. So that's cool. Okay, so this says, US scientists have recently admitted using chemtrails to modify the weather and block out the sun's rays. I feel like if that was true, I would know about it, because that's like all meteorology, and that would be and climate change, and that's completely within the wheelhouse of my PhD program. Like, I feel like we would have talked about this. This would be huge news. So I have to admit that I am going into this a little skeptical. So I'm going to go into it as a little skeptical, but with as open a mind as I can. One of the investigators, David Keith from Harvard University, announced they would be spraying sun-reflecting chemical particles into the atmosphere to artificially cool the planet using a balloon flying 80,000 feet over Fort Sumner, New Mexico. Okay, now I have heard of this as an idea, where if you inject particles into the atmosphere that would reflect sunlight, it would be one way to combat climate change. But to my knowledge, that's never actually been done. It's never gotten out of the idea phase, and that's because the basic principle of, hey, if we put a certain type of aerosol into the atmosphere, it will reflect sunlight. Like, cool, we know what the primary effect would be, but we're very uncomfortable, and by we, I mean like atmospheric scientists, with the idea of, but we don't know what all of the secondary effects would be. And that's actually one of the issues of studying climate change in general, but that's probably another video, so I'll reel it in and try to stay focused. Okay, Keith owns a multi-million-dollar geoengineering research center. The research center previously commissioned a study by a US aerospace company that made the case for the feasibility of a large-scale deployment of solar geoengineering technologies. Now Keith, along with his partner James Anderson, plans to start pumping out tens or hundreds of kilograms of sulfate aerosols into the sky. So I want to point out something here that is of the language of this article. And that is, everything is future tense, right? So Keith and his partner, they plans to start pumping. So this is saying that it hasn't happened yet. And so we can come back to this here in a little bit, but what I am actually kind of more interested in is in the, what is the science article that this comes from, right? So what are their sources? Okay, well, this is interesting. At the end of this article, there's a sentence that says the US military industrial complex has officially declared the existence of chemtrails. Read more about that here. So let's follow that link and see what happens. Weather as a force multiplier, owning the weather in 2025. There's a report. Okay, well, let's just take that title and see what we find on the interwebs. Looks like you can buy it on Amazon. And here's a little write-up on Amazon. So in 2025, U.S. aerospace forces can own the weather by capitalizing on emerging technologies and focusing development of those technologies to warfighting applications. Such a capability offers the warfighter tools to shape the battle space in ways never before possible. It provides opportunities to impact operations across the full spectrum of conflict. So this is talking about weather modification, and I can tell you this right now. Oh, do you want to see the books I might like? Yes, if you were, let's see. You can tell I'm a Terry Pratchett fan. I'm a Terry Pratchett fan. Neuromancer, that is like, I think that's like my husband's favorite book of all time. And then The Very Hungry Caterpillar is in there because I have many tiny cousins that I like to ship books to, especially when they've been stuck inside because of self-isolation. But I digress. Here's the thing. This is written by, as far as I can tell, not scientists in the weather field, and so I sort of don't care about what they have to say. If they're not experts in the field, and let's see if we can't find this on Scholar, Google Scholar. Because weather as a force multiplier. Okay. There we go. Because if this is, okay, there's a citation. But you can't get the actual article. Okay. So what that tells me, if I can't find something on Google Scholar, then this is not something that's really being considered and pursued by academics. And if it's not being considered and pursued by like scientists and engineers in that field, then it's not something that we really need to pay attention to, right? It's because, okay, here's the thing. If you could figure out how to control the weather, you would win the Nobel Prize and be the richest human on planet Earth, and you could save so many lives. If you talk to anybody in the National Weather Service or NOAA or, who studies the weather, yeah, we would love to be able to control it. If we could prevent tornadoes from ever killing another human being, or same thing with hurricanes or flooding, like these do billions of dollars of property damage a year and kill so many people. I would love to be able to prevent even one more death, right? I would love to be able to to either stop a tornado in its tracks or like direct it away from populated areas. I would love to be able to do that. And if it was possible, we would be writing and publishing and talking about that all the time, but it just isn't. Okay, we went on a little tangent because we got off away from the original article. Harvard scientists admit using chemtrails to block the sun. Now, so this article, this kind of like popular science article, and there's nothing wrong with pop science articles, right? Because actual scientific articles I can only now, as a PhD student, read and understand what's going on in an article in my own field, right? If I went and tried to go read a biology article, I would have no idea what was going on. I would get maybe 1 in 3 words, right? So there is a really important job of translating science for scientists to science for the general public, and that's what popular science articles should do. But they should always cite what article or articles they're translating for general human consumption. And this one doesn't do that. Let's actually just copy this title maybe and put it into regular Google, and maybe I can find another article that cites the, another popular science article that cites the real article. And by real article, I mean the one that's in a scientific journal that's meant for scientists. Independent CO UK, there we go, this might work. Let's see, spray sun-blocking chemicals into atmosphere to cut global temperature rise in half, scientists say. Okay. Gosh, it is officially summer here in Oklahoma. I don't know if you can hear the fan on my computer, but it is in overdrive, and I am just sweating. So if I start to melt, we might have to pause and do a part 2 so I can go inside and cool off. Another reason you should help me get to 1,000 subscribers so that I can have funding, so that I would actually really love to, so we have a 3-car garage and I'm in the 3rd car, part of the 3-car garage. I would love to insulate and maybe put in a small AC unit so that I could film out here all the time and not die of heat stroke. So like and subscribe, help me grow my channel. You guys are awesome and I'm super glad you're here. Okay. Nope, that's not the thing. Okay, nature, climate change. We're getting the links. Pro YouTuber tip, team. If you use your phone to record, be sure to put it on airplane mode, or else your sister who lives in Japan calls you and you don't want to turn her down, but it interrupts filming. Okay, anywho, so I found this article that might be what they were referencing. This is from Nature Climate Change, and it is Having Warming with Idealized Solar Geoengineering Moderates Key Climate Hazards. And I think this whole article is free and available to the public, but I'm just going to go through the abstract. So solar geoengineering has the potential to restore average surface temperatures by increasing planetary albedo. Albedo is just a measure of how much of the incoming sunlight reflects back off into space and doesn't get absorbed by the Earth and cause heating. It's effectively a measure of how shiny something is. So if we could make the atmosphere shinier, then it would reflect more solar radiation back out to space, and thus the Earth would absorb less and we would reduce the effects of global warming. That's the basic idea of this. And so then, thus, although solar geoengineering might reduce globally aggregated risks, it may increase climate risks for some regions. Here, using the high resolution forecast oriented low ocean resolution or high floor model, which resolves tropical cyclones and has an improved representation of present day precipitation extremes alongside 12 models from the Geoengineering Model Intercomparison Project. We analyze the fraction of locations that see their local climate change exacerbated or moderated by solar geoengineering. Okay, so that's probably a lot of technobabble. But what they're saying is that they're using a computer model to try to understand what those secondary effects that I mentioned earlier in this video would be. So let's say we lower global temperature, but putting these specific putting these specific aerosols into the atmosphere, maybe suddenly it makes I don't know, rain in Florida worse, or something like that. That's not necessarily so a consequence, right? That's an unintended consequence of the procedure. So they're just using modeling studies. This is not a real go out into the field, go into a plane and put stuff into the atmosphere. This is all based off of computer models. So I don't know if that's the specific article they were referencing, but okay, let's jump back to, okay, here's the original article, and we're still trying to find the source that they're referencing. If it was that Nature climate change article we just looked at, then the authors of this article must have misunderstood, because they're in that Nature climate change article, they're only talking about doing computer simulations, not an actual field experiment or studying the effects of something that's been going on for a long time. This is just a computer model. It doesn't exist out. The files are in the computer. Okay, so we're gonna come back here and try to look for a source. Hey team, Editing Maddie here. So this video got super long, so we're gonna release it in 2 parts. Part 2 will come out later this week. Until then, I hope you enjoy this, and I will see you soon. Okay, bye team.